Hello friends, welcome to Be and By IAS. I am your guide Jaspir Singh Bajaj, IAS retired 1987 batch Tamil Nadu cadre. Friends, one of the topics in our syllabus for the law optional is fundamental rights, its relationship between directive principles of state policy and fundamental duties. So, when we want to explain or learn the relationship between the three, we have to understand each one of them separately and then find out a link between the three. I have evolved a method of guiding you in such a manner that it is primarily focused and based on the trend of the civil services examination as far as law optional is concerned, and what kind of questions are asked, what is expected by the examiner. I have myself appeared in 1986 examination with law as my optional subject for the mains. So in that also, what I had expressed myself in my answers was basically trying to analyze the questions, read out what is expected out of me by the examiner, and then within the prescribed word limits, I had to give the precise answer. And that's how I could make it in my only attempt for the 69th rank. So I wish you all the best, and let us start with today's topic. Article 13 is very important because when we talk of state under Article 12, we are talking of as to against whom the fundamental rights as enshrined in Part 3 of the Constitution are enforceable. If we are aggrieved, who will be asked to enforce that right? Through the judicial process, judicial review, through the process of issue of writs and any other appropriate order, as the case may be, by the Supreme Court under Article 32 or the High Courts under Article 226. So here we want to know as to what is the law. Very, very basic question, not as a law student, what we study law in the manner of saying that law provides us rights and duties and responsibilities. That is a language of a law student, which we have been doing it. But Constitution, as far as Part 3 is concerned, Article 13 itself is one of the fundamental rights. So we have to learn what Article 13 prescribes law. That's very important. So, Part 3 says fundamental rights. Article 13, laws inconsistent with or in derogation of fundamental rights. So, we have to learn what laws are inconsistent, what laws are in derogation of fundamental rights, so that those laws will be, will not be operational. If we go to the judiciary for the interpretation, if any law is tested on these two important touchstones, the judiciary will say, sorry, this law is ultra vires the Constitution. Ultra vires means beyond the powers. So once a law is declared as ultra vires or inconsistent with the fundamental rights, it can be struck down. So let us see what are those laws. First thing is very important. The constitution makers in the Constituent Assembly, they have categorized the laws into two basic categories. One is the pre-constitutional laws. What does it mean? Pre-constitution. You know, the constitution, though enacted and adopted on 26th of November 1949, it became operational on which date? 26th January 1950. So this date is very important when the constitution came into operation. So any laws made before this particular date are called pre-constitutional laws. So all laws in force. Now suppose a law has been passed before the constitution became operational. They were in force. They were enacted and they were in force before this date in the territory of India. Immediately before the commencement of this constitution, this date, insofar as they are, this is very important word which we will be repeatedly using, is inconsistent. Inconsistent with what? With the provisions of Part 3, that is the fundamental rights of the Constitution, shall to the extent. Another very, very important term used is to the extent of such inconsistency. We'll learn it further, we'll analyze it further, will be void. The other category is the post-constitutional law, that is after 26th January. Okay, afterwards. That was before, now it is afterwards. The state, now what happened once the constitution came into force? That we became a republic. We had to constitute ourselves, our governance, as per the provisions of the constitution. So what were those provisions? That we will have the legislature to make the laws, we will have the executive to implement the laws, and we will have the judiciary to interpret the laws. So in that case, the state will make the law. That is, legislature will make the law. State shall not make any law which takes away or abridges the rights conferred in Part 3, that is the fundamental rights, and any law made in contravention of this clause shall again, to the extent of such contravention, be void. We'll analyze it later. Now, clause 3 is very important. It talks about what does the law mean as far as constitution is concerned. In this article, unless the context otherwise requires, law includes, it's an inclusive definition, number one. This is number one thing we have to remember. It has got not only the laws passed by the legislature, the inclusive definition also includes ordinance, order, bylaw, rule, regulation, notification, custom or usage, having in the territory of India. The important term is force of law. We'll study it further. But this is very important term. Any of these or any other, because it's an inclusive definition, must have the force of law. What is that force of law? We'll see. So B clause, clause 3, subclause B, law in force includes, now we come to law in force, includes laws passed or made by the legislature, that is, the legislature has the authority, the power to make laws. But in addition to the legislature, we have seen there are certain in the inclusive definition of law, उसमें और भी बहुत सी टर्म्स हैं, ऑर्डिनेंस है, रूल है, नोटिफिकेशन है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा. सो नॉट ओनली द लेजिस्लेचर बट ऑल्सो अदर कॉम्पिटेंट अथॉरिटीज. तो वो कॉम्पिटेंट अथॉरिटीज कौन है वो हम आगे केस लॉज में देखेंगे. इन द टेरिटरी ऑफ इंडिया बिफोर द कमेंसमेंट ऑफ दिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, दैट इज द प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लॉज, एंड नॉट प्रीवियसली रिपील्ड. दैट मीन्स क्या हुआ कि प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ बना हुआ था, इट वॉज इन ऑपरेशन, और एटलीस्ट इट वॉज ऑन द स्टैट्यूट बुक. इट वॉज ए लॉ इन राइटिंग ऑन द स्टैट्यूट बुक, बट द मेन कंडीशन इज नॉट प्रीवियसली रिपील्ड. पहले इसको कभी रिपील नहीं किया गया है. दैट मीन्स ये फोर्स में है, फोर्स में था प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ. Notwithstanding that any such law or any part thereof may not be then in operation either at all or in particular areas. इसका क्या मतलब हुआ कि हमने ये कहा कि जो प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉस है उनको भी हमने लॉ की डेफिनेशन में इंक्लूड कर लिया. वो लॉज जो है रिपील नहीं हुए थे, हटाए नहीं गए थे स्टैट्यूट बुक से. दे एग्जिस्टेड ऑन द स्टैट्यूट बुक. नाउ द क्वेश्चन इज, चाहे पूरा लॉ और एनी पार्ट देयर ऑफ, उसका कोई भी पार्ट वो ऑपरेशन में चाहे नहीं था या था, और कहाँ था, सारे एरियाज टेरिटरी में था या पार्ट्स में था, वो सब मिला के, दैट इज नॉट विद स्टैंडिंग. नॉट विद स्टैंडिंग मीन्स हमें नहीं मतलब, वो स्टैट्यूट पे था, रिपील नहीं हुआ था, पार्ट में या होली ऑपरेशनल नहीं था, लेकिन बुक्स पे अलाइव था. वो भी लॉ की डेफिनेशन में आ जाएगा. नाउ क्लास 4 इज a new addition to Article 13. It was included by 24th Amendment. क्यों हुआ था वो मैं अभी आपको बताता हूँ. This particular clause says nothing in this article shall apply to any amendment of this Constitution made under Article 368. Article 368 gives the power of amending the Constitution. तो ये जो पर्टिकुलर क्लॉज लाई गई कि आर्टिकल 368 में जो अमेंडमेंट लाई जाएगी उस पे आर्टिकल 13 अप्लाई नहीं होगा. तो इन्होंने क्या कहा, अमेंडमेंट को हम लॉ नहीं मानेंगे. उसका कैसे इंटरप्रिटेशन सब्सिक्वेंटली हुआ, गोलकनाथ केस को ओवरराइड करने के लिए ये क्लॉज इंसर्ट की गई थी थ्रू 24th अमेंडमेंट. आगे हम देखेंगे कि अल्टीमेटली इसका अभी प्रेजेंटली क्या इफेक्ट है. नाउ वी कम टू द अदर पार्ट्स अदर देन लॉज पास्ड बाय द लेजिस्लेचर. दैट मीन्स बाय द अदर कॉम्पिटेंट अथॉरिटीज, बिकॉज दे आर ऑल्सो लॉज. इंक्लूसिव डेफिनेशन है, वो भी लॉ है. तो ऑर्डिनेंस क्या होता है? ऑर्डिनेंस होता है व्हेन पार्लियामेंट और द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर दे हैव द पावर्स, ओके, टू मेक लॉज. देयर बेसिक ड्यूटी इज टू मेक लॉज. दे आर नॉट इन सेशन. पार्लियामेंट इज नॉट इन सेशन और द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर इज नॉट इन सेशन, बट देयर इज ए अर्जेंट नीड फॉर ए लॉ. So what happens in that case? President, even being part of the executive, has been given the powers to make law, okay, through an ordinance under Article 123 by the President. सिमिलरली स्टेट में गवर्नर हैज गॉट द पावर अंडर आर्टिकल 213 बाय द गवर्नर. बट देखिए, गो बिहाइंड द स्पिरिट. व्हेन वी से ना लेटर एंड स्पिरिट, तो लेटर तो जो लिखा हुआ है, स्पिरिट क्या है? स्पिरिट इज कि लेजिस्लेचर के पास ही पावर होनी चाहिए. एग्जीक्यूटिव को, दैट इज प्रेसिडेंट को और गवर्नर को ये पावर दी गई है अंडर एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी सर्कमस्टेंसेस. ओके, व्हाट इज दैट एक्स्ट्रा ऑर्डिनरी सर्कमस्टेंस? दैट इज व्हेन आइदर द पार्लियामेंट or the state legislature are not in session respectively. So in that case, now ordinance has been passed, but that ordinance has got a maximum duration, validity of how much? 6 months. कैसे? क्योंकि एक सेशन के बीच में और दूसरे सेशन के बीच में मैक्सिमम मतलब 6 महीने से ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं होना चाहिए, चाहे वो पार्लियामेंट है, स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर. सो दिस लॉ विल बी ऑपरेशनल ड्यूरिंग दैट पीरियड व्हेन दिस आइदर पार्लियामेंट और स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर इज नॉट इन सेशन. अब उसके बाद क्या होता है? सेशंस के भी विदिन 6 weeks दिस ऑर्डिनेंस हैज टू बी मेड लॉ बाय द legislature through the process, which is enshrined in the constitution. Whatever powers they have got, the type of law they have to pass, accordingly they will have to pass it within 6 weeks. Otherwise this ordinance will lapse. Order is it's again a power given to executive. देखिए, ये जो जितने भी है ना ऑर्डर, नोटिफिकेशन, ऑर्डिनेंस, ये सब इसलिए दिए गए हैं लॉ की डेफिनेशन में, इंक्लूसिव डेफिनेशन में, कि इफ लेजिस्लेचर इज नॉट एबल टू पास मेक एनी लॉ बिकॉज ऑफ द सर्टेन सर्कमस्टेंसेस, मे बी एज वी सॉ इन द केस ऑफ ऑर्डिनेंस, इट वॉज नॉट इन सेशन, or it has delegated this power to some other competent authority. That is called delegated legislation, which we will study in administrative law in details. But remember, again this order is passed by whom? By the executive. It's an administrative law order. It has been included in the definition of law. But administrative instruction is not law. What is the difference? Administrative order is that whatever order has been issued by a competent authority, that is the executive, maybe secretary to the government, maybe a district magistrate, collector, or somebody else. This administrative order must have the force of law. Administrative instruction does not have the force of law. This has been held in the Puneet Rai versus Dinesh Chaudhary case in 2003. Administrative instruction is just an instruction to be followed by the subordinates or for whom it has been issued by the competent authority. But it doesn't have the force of law. These are only instructions. But administrative order has a force of law. एग्जाम्पल ले लीजिए, कलेक्टर साहब ने इशू ऑर्डर कर दिया, रिस्ट्रिक्शन ऑन द मूवमेंट ऑफ द पीपल अंडर 144, कर्फ्यू लगा दिया. दैट्स अगेन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑर्डर. इट विल हैव द फोर्स ऑफ लॉ. एनीबॉडी हु ब्रेक्स दैट will have to face the consequences as per law. Bylaw. Now, bylaws are basically passed by the municipal authorities. Now, what are those municipal authorities? We have studied in the case of analysis of Article 12. State की जब हम बात करते हैं तो local bodies, local authorities. वो local authorities कौन सी हैं? Municipal corporation, municipal council, municipal committees, cantonment boards, etc. So they are also within the definition of state as per Article 12. So any bylaw, हम bylaw क्यों कहते हैं इसको, law क्यों नहीं कहते? Because law making power is only with the legislature. So whatever bylaw, whatever has been passed by the municipal authority is called the bylaw, but it has the force of law and it is covered under the meaning of law under Article 13 held in Tahir versus District Board case. Regulations, rules and regulations क्या होती हैं? Again a part of delegated legislation. तो क्या है? Regulations made by a statutory corporation. Statutory corporation क्या होती है? Which has been created by a statute, LIC, by a LIC Act. तो उसने जो ऑर्डर पास किए हैं, जो रेगुलेशंस बनाई हैं, वो रेगुलेशंस भी लॉ की डेफिनेशन में आ रही हैं. ओके, दिस हैज बीन हेल्ड अंडर इन दिस केस. नोटिफिकेशन. अब क्या होता है नोटिफिकेशन में भी हमने दो केसेस लिए हैं. एक होता है किसी भी स्टैट्यूट, किसी लॉ के अंडर, रिटन लॉ के अंडर एक अथॉरिटी एक नोटिफिकेशन या ऑर्डर जारी करती है. जैसे कि एक कोई भी ऑर्डर, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव ऑर्डर, कोई भी ऑर्डिनेंस, कोई भी लॉ, वो जब नोटिफाई किया जाता है, किस में करते हैं हम? ऑफिशियल गजट में. तो वो नोटिफिकेशन इटसेल्फ बिकम्स लॉ because that order or notification has been issued under a statute. The statute provides for issuance of a notice or an order. This is held in this Madhubhai Gandhi case. Another important this thing is, you have heard about Commissions of Inquiry Act. गवर्नमेंट अपॉइंट करती है कमीशन. तो वो जो अपॉइंटमेंट होता है वो कैसे होता है? अपॉइंटमेंट होता है by way of a proper notification that so and so commission is appointed, who will be the member, who will be the chairperson, what will be the tenure, etc., terms and conditions. So all those notifications come under the definition of law held in this particular case. Resolution. Now what happens is, a resolution is passed under FR 44 by a state. Okay, they pass a resolution, but it has a force of law. This is very important, custom or usage. एक यूजेज क्या होती है? एक प्रैक्टिस होती है. प्रैक्टिस जिसको हम ओवर एंड ओवर रिपीटेडली फॉलो करते हैं. It may be a religious practice, it may be a cultural, it may be a racial practice, it may be a practice which is being followed by a substantial part of the general public, general population, may be territorial, may be religious, etc., etc. Now these practices over a period of when they are used, that becomes usages. But when they become, they are repeatedly being followed consistently over a period of time, they get the force of law. That means they become binding like law. So any custom or usage बार बार करने से वो कस्टम बन जाती है. तो कस्टम और यूजेज, बट मेन कैच इज having force of law. It must have a force of law. I'll give you a very small example, like under the Hindu Marriage Act, there are certain categories where you cannot marry, in those relations. They are close relations. But in certain parts of our country, there are communities who follow this custom or usage of marrying within those, restricted or banned categories. So law, and they, over a period of time, centuries, they have been following it. So it gets the force of law. As far as that particular community or sect is concerned, that particular section of society is concerned, not to others. Okay, for them, it becomes a custom or usage which gets the force of law, and it becomes a law under the definition given under Article 13, held in Santram versus Lab Singh case. Now, again we come back to this important term of law and force. Having force of law means rule of conduct should be called a law. What does it mean? That your conduct should reflect that it has the binding force of a law. Abiding, sanctions, law में क्या होता है? What do we mean by law? That if these are certain regulations, these are certain rule of conduct, because law controls our conduct, our behavior. ठीक है? You will not steal, you will not commit murder, you will not violate any restrictions put under the Motor Vehicles Act. रेड लाइट पे आपको खड़े होना है, तो आपके कंडक्ट को कंट्रोल कर रहा है. सो दिस कंडक्ट, रूल ऑफ कंडक्ट should be called a law. That means if the conduct itself shows that it has got a binding, it has got a kind of a enforceable part. If you break that, what does law provide? If you break law, it provides sanctions. So breaking of law is punished, right? So in that case, having a force of law must have two factors. One factor is your conduct, and the other is sanctions. That if you break it, you will be penalized. Now, which have not been repealed, I have already explained. कि वो स्टैट्यूट पे हैं और उनको हटाया नहीं गया, चाहे वो प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ है या पोस्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ है. ठीक है. ऑपरेशन होली और पार्टली, या तो पूरा एक्ट है या ए पार्ट ऑफ द एक्ट थ्रू आउट इंडिया और इन पार्ट देयर ऑफ, पूरी कंट्री में या किसी भी एक हिस्से में. एग्जिस्टिंग लॉ मीन्स इट इज एग्जिस्टिंग on the statute, and that means the law must be in existence. Like, it can be in any form. It can be a law passed by the legislature or another forms of laws. Okay, either by legislature or other authorities, bodies or persons, right? Now we come back to pre-constitutional laws as far as law in force is concerned. Now, what happens is that the whole law does not become inconsistent. Only that part which is to the extent of inconsistency, जितना वो inconsistent है, किसके साथ? Part 3 के साथ, fundamental rights के साथ, not with other parts. We are not talking, Article 13 is not talking about other parts. Since it itself is a fundamental right, so it is governing part 3. Okay, so in relation to part 3, whatever law is there, only to the extent of inconsistency, not otherwise. जितना inconsistent है, उतना नहीं law माना जाएगा. Past transactions before constitution are valid. So this means it does not have a retrospective effect. Article 13 doesn't have a retrospective effect. ये नहीं जो प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पीरियड में लॉ के हिसाब से जो भी एक्शंस हुए हैं, they cannot be questioned. after Constitution came into force, that is after 26 January 1950. उससे पहले जो भी एक्शंस हुए एज पर दैट प्री कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल लॉ कैन नॉट बी क्वेश्चन. सो इट डजंट हैव ए retrospective effect, it has only a perspective effect. Now we come to post-constitutional laws. That is after the constitution has come into force. Constitutional prohibition to state. Constitution prohibits the state. State means the legislature from and the other competent authorities from making laws, taking away या तो पूरे का पूरा और abridging fundamental rights. तो प्रोहिबिशन लग गया स्टेट के ऊपर कि आप ऐसा लॉ नहीं बनाएंगे जो या तो फंडामेंटल राइट को ले जाए, ख़त्म कर दे, या उसको एडवर्सली इफेक्ट करे, एब्रिजिंग एडवर्सली इफेक्ट करे. महिंद्रा वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ यूपी में. अब एक इसी को कॉन्टेक्स्ट में जो अभी हमने डिस्कस किया उसमें एक बहुत बढ़िया डॉक्ट्रिन निकल के आई. जुडिशरी इज इन आवर कंट्री इज, आई टेल यू, जीनियस. They, in their duty of interpretation of laws, including the constitutional provisions, they go to the extent of making it so simplified and understandable that even a child can understand that. Okay? Not only the people like advocates or related to legal professions or elite or, highly educated, a common man will understand how they interpret the laws. And they have beautifully interpreted this particular doctrine of eclipse. Inconsistent laws, though become out of whack, but not completely dead. बहुत ही important इन्होंने इंटरप्रिटेशन की है चीफ जस्टिस दास इन बीखाजी वर्सेस स्टेट ऑफ मध्य प्रदेश इन 1955, लॉन्ग बैक देयर दैट टाइम. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ कि जो इनकंसिस्टेंट लॉ है, जिस लॉ को माना गया कि इट इज इनकंसिस्टेंट विद द फंडामेंटल राइट्स, पार्ट 3 ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, दे आर आउट ऑफ वेक. मतलब क्या हो गया कि उनको तो दे शुड बी थ्रोन अवे, दे शुड बी कंसीडर्ड एज वॉइड. बट हम उनको ये कहते हैं कि नहीं, ये ऑपरेशनल नहीं होंगे. But that doesn't mean they become dead. No, they don't become dead because they are existing on the statute, but they are defective. They are inconsistent. So how they deal with this, we'll see. It is eclipsed by the fundamental rights. Eclipse देखा आपने? मैं अभी आपको दिखाता हूँ eclipse कैसे होता है. ओके, यू मस्ट हैव रेड इन ज्योग्राफी, बट आज हम लॉ में एक्लिप्स देखेंगे. एंड कैन अगेन बी अलाइव थ्रू सम कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट्स. तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट क्या करेगी? उस इनकंसिस्टेंसी को रिमूव कर देगी, हटा देगी. जब वो इनकंसिस्टेंसी खत्म हो गई लॉ से, तो लॉ विल बिकम अगेन अलाइव. इट विल बी एनफोर्सेबल because the defect in the law has been removed by a constitutional amendment. So it is not completely dead. So स्टेट ऑफ गुजरात अंबिका मिल्स में उन्होंने इसका और स्कोप बढ़ा दिया. In this particular case, the scope of this particular doctrine, now it covers both pre-constitutional as well as post-constitutional laws. Now I'll show you how this doctrine of eclipse actually works. It works in 3 ways. Now, you see, for example, this is the sun. Now, this sun is the pre-constitutional law. and that is the earth. Earth is what? The people to whom this law applies. This law is meant for that earth. Sun provides light to the earth. Sun is the pre-constitutional law. It's the law. Okay. And the earth is the we people. People, the objects of that law. What happens is, as per Article 13, there is a day of eclipse. That day is 26th January 1950. In between, the moon comes. What is moon? Moon is the inconsistency with the fundamental rights. तो वो बीच में आ गया, तो क्या हुआ? एक एक्लिप्स लग गया. जितना पार्ट इनकंसिस्टेंट है उतना ही एक्लिप्स अर्थ के ऊपर लग गया. मतलब उतना पार्ट ऑफ लॉ विल नॉट बी एप्लीकेबल, विल नॉट बी ऑपरेशनल ऑन द पीपल, दैट इज द ऑब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ दैट लॉ. क्लियर? अब क्या है? नाउ वंस दैट moon, that is the inconsistency with fundamental rights, is removed, the whole law will be applicable, and that removal can be done by constitutional amendment. You understood this doctrine of eclipse? I talked about pre-constitutional law, so the same will apply to post-constitutional law also. There the day of eclipse will not be 26th January 1950, but the day law is passed, the law becomes a statute. The day it becomes statute, the portion of it which is inconsistent with the fundamental rights causes this eclipse, and once that inconsistency is removed, the whole law will be applicable. So again, in Deepchand versus State, it was held only the pre-constitutional laws will be subjected to doctrine of eclipse. But this was overruled in State of Gujarat versus Ambika Mills, pre as well as post-constitutional laws. Now, to sum up this doctrine, let us read this. Any law contrary to fundamental rights is not void ab initio, शुरू से void नहीं है, but becomes unenforceable, becomes dormant for how long? For an infinite period, as long as the statute is on the book. Period until the inconsistency is removed from it. This is very important. The moment this is removed, it becomes operational. Now we come to another very important doctrine. This is called doctrine of severability. Severability क्या होता है? To separate, अलग कर देना. अब क्या है? In A.K. Gopalan case in 1950, very landmark judgment, if a part of any law is inconsistent, the rest of the part will remain valid. अब मैं आपको इसको illustrate करके बताता हूँ सिंपल वे में. वो क्या है? जैसे ये एक ह्यूमन बॉडी है. दिस इज द होल एक्ट. ओके, दिस इज अ हेल्दी बॉडी. गुड एक्ट हैज बीन पास्ड. बट जब वो लॉ स्टैट्यूट बुक पे आ गया, वी फाउंड दैट इसका ये जो हाथ है, दिस हैंड इज इन्फेक्टेड, गैंग्रीन हो गया इसमें. एंड व्हाट वाज दैट गैंग्रीन? दैट गैंग्रीन इज द इनकंसिस्टेंसी with the fundamental rights. Very, 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 serious issue. So in that case, what judiciary said, कि भाई, the whole body should not be treated as void. You do one thing, you remove this part. ये जो हाथ है ना, इसको हटा दीजिए. गैंग्रीन वाले हाथ को एम्प्यूट कर दीजिए. करते हैं हम. तो जैसे ही वो हाथ एम्प्यूट हुआ, the rest of the law becomes operational. Yes, it becomes operational, क्योंकि जो inconsistency थी वो हमने हटा दी, रिमूव कर दी. Okay, this is a very simple case. Now we see the next example. Next example में क्या है, which RMDC versus Union of India में it was very well described, कि मान लीजिए अभी हमने देखा कि वो पार्ट जो हमने हटाया था, हैंड, was separable. It could be separated and the rest of the body will survive. But in this case, for example, you see, this is the human body. Okay, this is the whole act. Now suppose the most vital part, that is the head, has got the gangrene or tumor or whatever, very deadly, it cannot work. And that deadly feature is inconsistency with the fundamental rights. अब क्या होगा? If you remove the head, the body will die, the whole act will die. So in that case, you can't do anything. If the impugned provision is not separable from the whole act, then the whole act will be considered as void. Body ही dead मानी जाएगी. Now we come to the third situation. Third situation is, there is a body. For example, this body is there. Scheme, हमारी बॉडी में क्या स्कीम होती है? क्या दौड़ रहा है हमारी बॉडी? Blood carries the oxygen. It is this scheme which is applied to the whole body. It is the center. जिस दिन वो सर्कुलेशन खत्म होता है, बॉडी डेड हो जाती है, पर्सन विल डाई. सो हम क्या करते हैं, उन्होंने बड़ा अच्छा निकाला कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल इन दिस बॉडी, ह्यूमन बॉडी, द होल एक्ट, द स्कीम इज दिस ब्लड रनिंग इन द आर्टरीज एंड वेन्स. सो व्हाट हैपन्स, देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम विद दिस ब्लड कैंसर हो गया. नाउ व्हाट इज दैट कैंसर? Blood cancer is the inconsistency with the fundamental rights, part 3. Now, you can't separate it. If you separate it, the whole scheme of the body dies. So in that case also, the whole act will be considered as void. I think I have tried to explain to you in a very, very simplified and illustrative manner. I think you should be able to follow it and register it in your mind. Okay. Now we come to the clause 4 of Article 13. Article 368 amendment vis-a-vis the Article 13 clause 4. As I said, in Golaknath's case, it was held that this constitutional amendment is also a law. But clause 4 of Article 13 was introduced in the Constitution by 24th Amendment Act in 1971 to override the decision of the Golaknath case. So they said the 368 will not be part of this thing, will not be covered under the Article 13. But what happened? This matter was again examined subsequently in the Keshwanand Bharti case. Okay, 71 में ये amendment आई और 73 में केशवानंद भारती केस की judgment आई है. Very, very landmark judgment. It has changed the whole scenario of amending the Constitution. What? It introduced the doctrine of basic structure. कैसे? तो उन्होंने basic structure पे I have got a separate lecture which will be before you very soon. Now in this case, they just applied this doctrine. They applied this doctrine of basic structure, basic features to the constitutional amendment, and it was held that constitutional amendment can also be tested on the touching stone of basic feature. So basic feature of the constitution could not be amended by exercise. So that means it can be challenged like any other law if it changes the basic structure. So if any amendment, any constitutional amendment tries to change or touches upon adversely on the basic structure, any basic structure which they have not defined, but the judiciary has been applying this doctrine on case-to-case basis. So, scope of judicial review and Article 13, very important. But we may say that whether Article 13 can be examined, reviewed by judiciary, interpreted by judiciary. Yes, the answer is yes. Under Article 32, in the case of Fundamental Rights Supreme Court, or in the High Courts under Article 2 to 6. So unanimously, the judiciary has held that the court has always the power to declare enactment to the extent of transgression invalid. That means they can do the judicial review. If anything is declared as ultra-virus, it will be considered as ultra-virus, means beyond the powers. In Keshwanan Bharti case, the power of judicial review itself is the basic structure. It is one of the basic features of the Constitution. So, judicial review cannot be excluded for any part of the Constitution, be it Article 13, 368 or any other. But any amendment or action has to comply with this doctrine of basic structure. In L. Chandrakumar case, judicial review cannot be ousted or excluded even by constitutional amendment. वही चीज़ उन्होंने फिर कह दी, लेकिन और स्ट्रॉन्गर वर्ड्स में कही कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट भी जुडिशियल रिव्यू को नहीं हटा सकता, क्योंकि केशवानंद भारती केस में ही इसको एक बेसिक फीचर माना गया है. So nothing can change the basic structure, nothing can change the basic feature, be it constitutional amendments. Now, friends, in the beginning of my address to you, I had mentioned that we go, particularly this is my way of guiding my aspirants, that we go by what is being asked in the civil services examination by UPSC. We try to, keep pace with the trends, and after due analysis of previous trends, what kind of questions are there, we provide you the materials, the study material, the test series, etc. After going all these things and keeping in mind the trend of the questions being asked and how they are to be answered, I'll be taking separate guidance sessions on that, in which I'll pick up a few questions from each topic and tell you how to analyze those questions and how to answer them within the prescribed word limits. Very, very important. If you exceed the word limit, I again and again repeatedly say that you will be penalized. So, you just read these questions and in retrospect, go into whatever I have guided you today, go through my lectures, and then see where are the missing links. And if you feel there are any missing links, you have any doubts, you can always come to me through my website www.bandbyias.com. You can put your observation on that. You can write to me on email, and I will definitely address all your queries within the least possible time, so that your time is not lost. Your time is very precious, not only for you, but for me too as a guide. And I must respect that. Thank you very much, friends, till we meet in my next guiding session. Thank you.